Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Matt and Sarah podcast. I'm Matt, and as always, I'm here with my amazing co-host, Sarah. How are you doing today, Sarah?
Hi, Matt. I'm doing really well, thank you. And hello to all of our wonderful listeners out there. We are so happy you are here with us today. Whether you are listening on your way to work, at home, or maybe at the gym, welcome. We love having you with us.
Yes, absolutely. And today we have a super important topic for all of you who are learning English. It is one of those topics that can be a little confusing at first, but once you understand it, you will use it every single day.
That's right, Matt. Today we are going to talk about prepositions. And before anyone turns off the podcast thinking, oh no, grammar, please stay. I promise we are going to make this really fun and easy to understand.
Exactly. We are going to explain what prepositions are, show you lots of examples, and by the end of this episode, you are going to feel much more comfortable using them. So, Sarah, let's start with the basics. What is a preposition?
Great question, Matt. So, a preposition is a small word, or sometimes a short phrase, that tells us about the relationship between things. It usually tells us about place, time, or direction. Think of words like in, on, at, under, between, before, after, and with. These are all prepositions.
Yes, and they are tiny words, but they are super important. If you get a preposition wrong, the sentence can sound a little strange, so let's make sure we understand them well. Sarah, can you give us a very simple example to start?
Of course. Let's start with a very easy one. Imagine you have a cat, and the cat is sitting on the table. On is the preposition here. It tells us where the cat is. The cat is on the table. Simple, right?
I love that example. Now, what if the cat is not on the table, but under the table? Under is now the preposition, and it tells us a different location. So prepositions change where things are in a sentence.
Exactly. And here's something interesting. In English, prepositions are almost always followed by a noun or a pronoun. So we say on the table, under the chair, at the door. Table, chair, and door are all nouns. The preposition always comes before the noun. That is actually why it's called a preposition. It comes before.
Oh, that's a great tip, Sarah. Pre means before. So a preposition is a word that comes before a noun or pronoun to show a relationship. I think that really helps beginners understand the name itself.
Right. And there are different types of prepositions. Today, we are going to focus on three main groups: prepositions of place, prepositions of time, and prepositions of direction or movement. Does that sound good, Matt?
That sounds perfect. Let's start with prepositions of place, because I think those are the ones we use the most in everyday conversations. Sarah, what are the most common prepositions of place?
So, the most common ones are in, on, and at. Now, these three are a little tricky because they all talk about location, but we use them in different situations. Let me explain. We use in when something is inside something else, or when we are talking about a larger area. For example, the keys are in my bag. The keys are inside the bag. Or, I live in Brazil. Brazil is a large place, so we use in.
Great examples. And what about on?
We use on when something is on a surface, like a table or a floor. For example, the book is on the desk. The book is touching the surface of the desk. Or there is a picture on the wall. The picture is on the surface of the wall. We also use on for streets. For example, I live on Baker Street. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, and many people make mistakes with on for streets. I know I did when I first started learning. So remember, you live on a street, but in a city. For example, I live on Maple Avenue in New York. You see? On for the street, in for the city.
That is such a useful tip, Matt. Okay, and then we have at. We use at for specific points or places. For example, I am at the bus stop. The bus stop is a very specific point. Or she is at the door. We also use at for addresses when we say the full address. He lives at 42 Pine Street. And we use at for places of activity, like at school, at work, at the hospital.
Okay, so let me make sure I understood. In is for inside things or large areas. On is for surfaces or streets, and at is for specific points or places of activity. Is that right?
That is exactly right, Matt. And you know what? Let's practice a little. I'll say a sentence, and you tell me if the preposition is correct or not. Ready?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Okay, sentence one. The cat is in the box. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. The cat is inside the box, so we use in.
Perfect. Sentence two. She is on the supermarket. Is that right?
That doesn't sound right. A supermarket is a specific place of activity, so I think we should say she is at the supermarket, right?
Yes, excellent, Matt. At the supermarket is correct. We use at for places where we go to do something, like shop, study, or work. And one more. Sentence three. The coffee is at the table.
That one also sounds a little off to me. The coffee is on the table because the table is a surface, so the correct sentence is the coffee is on the table.
Perfect. You've got it. So, listeners, I hope you are following along at home. Let's now move on to more prepositions of place. There are a few more that are really useful. Words like under, above, behind, in front of, next to, and between. These are super helpful for describing where things are.
Let me give some examples. The dog is under the bed, the lamp is above the table, the car is behind the house, the garden is in front of the building, the pharmacy is next to the bakery, and the park is between the school and the library. All of these are prepositions of place.
Wonderful examples, Matt. And I just want to point out something for our listeners. Notice that some of these prepositions are more than one word. In front of is 3 words, next to is 2 words, and between is 1 word. But they all work the same way. They all come before a noun and describe a location.
That's a great point, Sarah. So don't be surprised if you see a preposition that is made of more than one word. It is still a preposition. Okay, I think we have covered prepositions of place really well. Now let's talk about prepositions of time. This is also very important for everyday English.
Yes, and again, the 3 most common ones are in, on, and at, just like for place. But the rules are a little different for time. Let me explain. We use at for specific times of the day. For example, the meeting is at 3 o'clock. I wake up at 7 in the morning. The movie starts at 8. So when you have a specific hour, use at.
And we also use at for some special times, like at night, at noon, and at midnight, right?
Exactly right. Those are fixed expressions. At night, at noon, at midnight, at the weekend. In British English, people say at the weekend, while in American English, people say on the weekend. Both are correct, just different styles.
Oh, that's a really interesting difference. I didn't know that. So what about on? When do we use on for time?
We use on for specific days and dates. For example, I have a dentist appointment on Monday. Her birthday is on the 15th of June. We have a party on Saturday evening. So whenever you talk about a specific day of the week or a specific date, use on.
That's easy to remember. Days and dates get on. And in. What does in tell us about time?
We use in for longer periods of time, months, years, seasons, and parts of the day. For example, I was born in July. She graduated in 2019. It is very cold in winter. I like to exercise in the morning. So in is for bigger chunks of time, not a specific point.
Okay. So to summarize, at is for specific times, like hours. On is for days and dates, and in is for months, years, seasons, and parts of the day. That is a great pattern to remember.
Perfect summary, Matt. And you know what's fun? Let me tell you about my morning using prepositions of time. So I wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning. On Mondays, I usually have an online class. In the afternoon, I like to read. And at night, I always watch something on TV before I sleep.
I love that. That is such a natural way to practice. You can try this at home, listeners. Describe your day using prepositions of time. Tell us, what do you do at 6 in the morning? What do you do on Sundays? What is your plan in December? It is a great exercise.
Yes, and now there are also some other common prepositions of time that are really useful. Words like before, after, during, for, since, and until. Let's look at a few of these because they come up all the time in real conversations.
Before and after are probably the easiest ones. Before means something happened earlier. After means something happened later. For example, wash your hands before dinner. Let's have coffee after the meeting. Very simple.
Yes, and during is also very useful. It means something happened in the middle of a period of time. For example, I fell asleep during the movie. That means while the movie was playing, I fell asleep. Or she got a phone call during the class. So something happened inside that period of time.
And then we have for and since, which are a little more advanced, but still very important. For is used with a duration, how long something lasts. Since is used with a starting point, when something began.
Right. So, for example, I have been studying English for 3 years. 3 years is a duration, but I have been studying English since 2021. 2021 is a starting point. Both sentences tell us about how long something has been happening, but we use different prepositions.
Wow, that is such an important difference. And I think a lot of learners get confused between for and since. The easiest trick is if you can say how long, use for. If you can say starting from when, use since.
I love that trick, Matt. Okay, and until means up to a certain time. For example, I work until 6 o'clock. That means I stop working at 6. Or the store is open until 9 at night, so it marks the end point of something. Very useful.
Great. So we have covered place and time. Now let's talk about prepositions of movement and direction. These are super fun because they help us describe where we're going.
Yes, and the most common ones are to, from, into, out of, through, across, along, towards, and past. Let's go through a few of these with examples so it's really clear.
Let's start with to and from. These are very common. To means you're going in a direction, moving towards a place. From means you're coming from somewhere. For example, I'm going to the supermarket. She came from Italy. He walked to the park.
And into and out of are movement versions of in and out. When something is entering a space, we use into. When something is leaving a space, we use out of. For example, she walked into the room. She was outside and now she's inside. He ran out of the building. He was inside and now he's outside.
Exactly. And then we have through. Through means from one side of something to the other side. For example, the train goes through the tunnel. It enters on one side and comes out the other side. She walked through the park. She started on one side and walked all the way to the other side.
Across is similar, but it usually means from one side to the other side of a flat surface, like a road, a river, or a field. For example, he swam across the river. He walked across the street. The kids ran across the playground. It gives us a sense of crossing something.
And along means moving in a line, usually next to something, like a road or a river. For example, we walked along the beach. We were walking beside the water, following the line of the beach. The trees grow along the road. The trees are lined up next to the road.
And towards means moving in the direction of something, but maybe not all the way there. For example, she walked towards the window. She started moving in the direction of the window. And past means you go beyond a point without stopping. Walk past the bank and then turn left. You go beyond the bank.
I think these movement prepositions are really fun to practice because you can act them out. Listeners, try this. Stand up and walk to the door. Then walk through the room. Walk along the wall. Turn towards the window. It really helps you feel the prepositions in your body.
Ha! I love that idea, Matt. Learning with movement is so effective. Okay, now I want to talk about a few more prepositions that don't fit neatly into place, time, or direction categories, but that you will hear all the time in English. These are prepositions like with, without, about, of, for, and by.
With and without are opposites. With means together or having something. Without means not having something or not together. For example, I drink my coffee with milk. She went to the party without her phone. He solved the problem with a little help. I can't sleep without music.
About is used when we're talking about the topic or subject of something. For example, this podcast is about learning English. She is reading a book about history. We talked about our plans for the summer, so about introduces the subject or topic.
And of is incredibly common in English. It often shows belonging or connection. For example, the title of the book, the capital of Brazil, a cup of coffee, a piece of cake. We use of constantly in English to connect two nouns.
Yes, of is everywhere. And for, not the time meaning we already talked about, but for meaning purpose or reason. For example, this gift is for you. She is studying for her exam. I am grateful for your help. So for can show who something is intended for or why you're doing something.
And by is also really versatile. It can mean beside someone or something, like sit by me. Or it can mean who did something, like this song was written by the Beatles. It can also mean a deadline, like please finish this by Friday. So by has several different uses depending on context.
Exactly, and this is something that learners should keep in mind. Many prepositions have more than one meaning. The meaning depends on the context, on what is around it in the sentence. So don't be surprised if you see the same preposition used in two very different ways. That is totally normal in English.
That is such an important point. And the best way to learn how prepositions are used in different contexts is to read and listen to a lot of English. The more you're exposed to the language, the more natural these things will become.
Totally agree. And that's actually why podcasts like this one are so helpful. You hear natural English in a slow and clear way, and you start to absorb how the language works. So keep listening, keep practicing, and it will get easier and easier.
Now, let's do a little review section because I think it's really important to go over what we've learned today before we finish. Sarah, can you give us a quick summary?
Of course. So today we talked about prepositions, which are small words that show relationships between things in a sentence. We learned about three main types. First, prepositions of place. The most important ones are in, on, and at. In is for inside things or large areas. On is for surfaces or streets. At is for specific points or locations of activity. We also learned under, above, behind, in front of, next to, and between.
Second, prepositions of time. Again, in, on, and at, but used differently. At is for specific hours and special expressions like at night. On is for days and dates. In is for months, years, seasons, and parts of the day. We also looked at before, after, during, for, since, and until.
And third, prepositions of movement and direction. To, from, into, out of, through, across, along, towards, and past. Plus some other super common prepositions. With, without, about, of, for, and by. Wow, that is a lot of prepositions.
It is, but don't let that scare you. You don't need to learn them all in one day. Take your time, practice a few at a time, and slowly they will become part of your natural English. The most important thing is to start using them. Make sentences, describe your room, talk about your day, use prepositions in your everyday life.
And here's a fun homework idea for our listeners. After you finish listening, try to write 5 sentences about yourself using prepositions. For example, I live in a city. I wake up at 7. I go to work on Mondays. My book is on my desk. I drink tea with sugar. Simple sentences, but full of prepositions.
I love that homework idea, Sarah. And you can also try to notice prepositions when you are watching movies or series in English, or when you are reading something in English. Every time you see a preposition, try to ask yourself, is this a preposition of place, time, or movement? What is the relationship it is showing?
Yes, awareness is so important when learning a language. When you start noticing things consciously, they start to stick in your memory, and over time, you won't even have to think about it anymore. You'll just know. That's what fluency feels like.
Exactly. And we truly believe that every single one of you listening right now has the ability to become fluent in English. It takes time, it takes patience, and it takes consistency. But with every episode you listen to, you are getting a little bit better. And that is what matters.
That is so beautifully said, Matt. And we're so happy to be on this journey with all of you. We really do love making this podcast, and we love knowing that somewhere in the world, someone is listening and learning and growing. It honestly makes us so happy.
It really does. Okay, before we wrap up today, let's do one final quick exercise. I'm going to describe a scene, and Sarah is going to fill in the prepositions. Ready?
I'm ready. Go ahead.
Okay. It is 8 o'clock, the morning. Sarah is sitting, her kitchen. Her coffee is the table. Her cat is sleeping on the chair, blank, the window. She is reading a book, English vocabulary. She has class, 10 o'clock. She needs to leave, 9:45, walking to the bus stop.
Okay, let me try. It is 8 o'clock in the morning. Sarah is sitting in her kitchen. Her coffee is on the table. Her cat is sleeping on the chair next to the window. She is reading a book about English vocabulary. She has class at 10 o'clock. She needs to leave at 9:45, walking to the bus stop. And she walks along the street, past the park, and into the school. How is that?
That was absolutely perfect. Did you all catch that? Sarah used so many prepositions so naturally. In, on, next to, about, at, along, past, and into, all in one little story about a morning routine. That is how real English works, and that is what you were working towards.
And you know, listeners, I made that sound easy because I've been practicing for a long time. When I first started learning, I made lots and lots of mistakes with prepositions, and that is completely okay. Mistakes are part of the process. Be kind to yourself, keep practicing, and you will get there.
Beautifully said. Okay, I think it's time to wrap up today's episode. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. We hope this episode helped you understand prepositions in a new and clear way. And remember, you can always come back and listen again. In fact, we highly recommend listening more than once.
Yes, repetition is one of the best tools for language learning. The more times you hear something, the more it sticks. So listen to this episode again tomorrow and the day after, and notice something new each time. Your brain will thank you for it.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend who is also learning English. That is one of the best ways you can support us, and you will also be helping someone else improve their English. It's a win for everyone.
Also, if you have any questions or topics you would like us to cover in a future episode, please reach out to us. We love hearing from our listeners. You can find us on social media and on our YouTube channel. Just search for Matt and Sarah Podcast, and you will find us.
We post new episodes regularly, so make sure you subscribe so you never miss one. Each episode is designed to help you improve your English in a natural, friendly, and effective way. That is our promise to you.
Exactly. And remember, learning a language is a journey, not a race. Take it one step at a time, one episode at a time, one preposition at a time. You are doing amazing, and we are so proud of every single one of you.
All right, that's everything for today. Thank you again for listening to the Matt and Sarah podcast. We will see you in the next episode. Until then, Keep practicing, keep smiling, and keep learning. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye. Take care, everyone. See you next time on the Matt and Sarah podcast. Bye-bye.